Before we start this podcast, I want to definitely remind you of a sponsor for Fresh of the Word, 20 by 20 Apparel. Founded in 2015, 20 by 20 Apparel brings original tributes to pro wrestling's classic arenas, moments, and events. They look to spotlight the bloopers, bleeps, and body slams along with the biggest, smallest, strangest, and strongest. In the world of wrestling where there's hundreds of shirts, promotions, flyers, social media accounts, and ads, don't get lost in the sea of parody shirts and display fonts. They can provide professional graphic design services at a reasonable price. 20 by 20 also hand screen prints all the tees in-house. So if you'd like to discuss a possible run of tees, posters, koozies, foam fingers, or even Zubaz, then drop them a line at 20by20apparel.com. That's the number 20x, the number 20apparel.com. And also check out their enamel pin line. It's super cool.
Fresh is the word.
Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, and like always, we talk about the freshest of topics and have the freshest of guests for you. The guest for this episode is the 18-year-old Los Angeles native, singer and songwriter, Angela Muñoz. She just released her debut album, Introspection, produced entirely by Adrian Young. During our chat, we talk about what it was like working with Adrian Young, her upbringing, how she was able to turn these songs that she's been writing since she was 14 years old into this finished product, her transition into adulthood, and we also do a track-by-track breakdown of Introspection. But before we get to that interview, I just want to, a little update on my life. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get this podcast out on time because while I'm recording this intro, what the fuck? I'm literally just getting a call right now about, and I know the number, it's DT Power, so they're telling me that my power's back on, which I already know. But for the past, for 3 hours, and my power is out. My whole city that I live in, the power was out. So I was bored for a few hours. I tried to take a nap, but my neighbors were being loud. But we're good to go. I'm doing this intro. Now, while I'm doing this intro also, watching the Tigers game versus the Royals. Baseball's back, baby. I don't know how this is going to go. We're still in the pandemic. The Florida Marlins caught the COVID. There are a bunch of people, management, players. Sports might not have been a good idea for 2020. But, if they're going to be here, I'm going to root for my Tigers. I haven't been really paying attention to baseball for a long time. I loved baseball as a kid. Played Little League and other forms for probably, I'd say, 8 to 10 years maybe as a kid. And that still some of my favorite at times. Tiger Stadium was my favorite place on earth. Even to this day, to me, it was like a safe place. You were in a whole other safe zone, a whole other world, when you're at Tiger Stadium. And even when I drive, even though Tiger Stadium isn't there anymore, I can just drive by, over there in Michigan and Trumbull, and just still feel those feelings about when I was a kid. But baseball's back, babies. I decided even before this year, even before the COVID hit, that I was going to follow baseball this year, mainly because Deezus and Mero talked about the Yankees and baseball so much that it got me into it got me liking baseball again. I got me interested. So I was ready to be a baseball fan again. And then the COVID hit. We didn't know if we were going to have a season, but we're having this, shortened season, and it's looking a little shaky. Tigers are looking a little good. They're 2-2 right now. They're leading the game right now. When I'm recording this, but I'm excited to see some baseball. They don't got any fans in the arena. There's Like some of the games, especially like the big games that are on like the Fox network, they're piping in crowd sounds for the people at home, which is kind of cool. I don't know. To me, it might sound a little weird, but it's kind of I don't know. I don't know. It works. It's cool, you know. But Tigers are back. I'm gonna pay attention to the Tigers. I'm gonna pay attention to Atlanta Braves because I was always an Atlanta Braves fan, and because of Diaz Samaro, I'm gonna follow the Yankees. I'm excited the baseball's back, and there's C.J. Crone. He's a new addition to the Tigers roster, and he's looking impressive already. So we'll see how the rest of the 60 game season pans out. Hopefully, we don't they'll be able to contain the COVID while this is all happening. What else can I talk about? I'm always buying records, man. Like, no, this thing. This past weekend was the first time that I actually went to a record store. I went to UHF Records in Royal Oak, Michigan, and it was like one of the most relaxing experiences that I've had in months. Like going to the record store and thumbing through records is just it's relaxing. It's even relaxing for me if I'm on like Discogs online and going through stuff. If I see a record that I want or something that just added that was on my want list, I'll go to the store and see if there's anything else that I can get from it, and see if and if not, then maybe I won't buy the record that I have in my want list. But if I see other records and they're cheap, then maybe I will. But I've been buying a lot of records. That's like kind of like my therapy during this pandemic. Um, and I've I just got my record in for today's guest, Angela Munoz. It's a beautiful looking record. I'm getting a lot of new records, a lot of older records. I like just I don't really have a. To me, it's just like there's something specific that I want, and then I start like going after those types of things. It's not like I just want all the records, like. Cause I don't, I just want records that I want, but then I find things that I want to own everything for, but they're bands or artists that don't have a lot of stuff, so so it's kind of easy, but sometimes it's very fulfilling. Uh, like um the blues artist, she's like um Adia Victoria. Like she has like four vinyls out, like, and I got them all now because I just got like one of her 10 inches back. And it's very fulfilling that I had those. Like right now, I'm also working on my Saturday Looks Good to Me collection. That was like a band in from Ann Arbor headed by Fred Thomas, which I'll have an episode eventually when I launch my other podcast, Renaissance Soul, on one of the Saturday Looks Good to Me albums. But I've been slowly getting all the records in the 7 inches for that. So that's what I've been doing, buying records. I like buying records. And so if you have any record recommendations that I might like, hit me up at djkfresh at gmail.com, or go hit me up on my socials. Twitter and Instagram is kfresh is the word. Those are the best places to get me. If you want to send me some vinyl, that's even better. Hit me up and I'll tell you where to send it. But yeah, I've been like really. I'm gonna try to actually start inputting my vinyl collection also into my Discogs, my Discogs page, which you can go ahead and check out. Let me just get the let me get the if you go to where's my collection? My collection, if you go to discogs.com/user/kfresh, you can see what I have in my collection thus far. That's only a little bit of my collection, but there's you'll see some stuff that I have in there. But like I said, if you want it, I will always take vinyl. If you want to share some vinyl with me, I like presents, and I like vinyl presents. All right, that's enough talking for this intro. I hope everybody's doing well out there. We're in the middle of summer here in the states, and things are looking crazy. Between the upcoming elections, the protests still going on, especially out there in Portland. Shout out to my Portland people. it's just a wild time that, and there's people that don't want to wear masks. There's people telling them, the anti-maskers, to wear a mask. It's a complicated time, and right now we need to work together, but you also have to find your place of sanity, you know. And I guess, buying records is my place of sanity. All right, after a short break and a word from our sponsor, we'll get into my interview with Angela Muñoz and talk about her debut album, Introspection. All right, welcome back to the Fresh to the Word podcast. And like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. And my guest today is Angela Muñoz, an 18-year-old Los Angeles native. Her debut album, Introspective, is now out on Linear Labs, which is the brainchild of Adrian Young. Thanks for joining the show, Angela.
Thank you for having me.
So the album's out now. It's amazing. I love it. It's really great. How does it feel to finally have that, that piece of work out there?
It feels amazing, especially to have a physical copy like a vinyl. I wasn't expecting that to happen. But it feels good to have a body of work out. And I love Adrian. I had always wanted to work with him growing up, so I'm happy that that happened.
Yeah, it's crazy just like at your young age to have like a piece of vinyl of like
Yeah.
your work to be able to like especially when it comes to the type of music that you do, like
Uh-huh.
that's a very, classically a very vinyl type of
Yeah.
music.
Yeah, it is. So I'm really happy about that.
So, talk about, how you first, linked up with Adrian to make music. I know you had heard of his music beforehand, but
Yeah.
kind of, guide us through that story that led us to this album.
Okay. So, my brother is really into music. He knows a lot about music. And in ninth grade, he had showed me Adrian Young, and I just felt like his sound was so refreshing compared to everything else that was on the radio. And I had from like listening to his projects, like I knew that I wanted to work with him. And that was in ninth grade. So skip to 11th grade. I felt ready. I felt like I had the material, and I reached out to him on social media, and he got back to me in 3 hours, and we just started making music.
What was his sort of reaction when you first hit him up? What was his feedback about your music when he hit you back that time?
Well, I mean, honestly, he hadn't even heard me sing in person. It was really like a leap of faith of us just saying, okay, we're gonna make this happen. But he never asked me like, oh, I need you to sing, or I need you to like show me like all your music. We just had a feeling that everything was gonna work out, and it was
Oh,
super natural.
well, what was it about it? What was your feelings during that time that made everything kind of seem so easy? To sort of connect with him.
Well, I just really admired his music, and trust me, in the beginning, it was kind of difficult because he's Adrian Young, and I I was nervous, of course, but when we started recording together, it felt natural. Um, and his studio really feels like home, feels like a place where your music is safe.
Growing up, as a kid, what kind of a kid were you? What were you doing? What were some of the music that you listened to? What was like the things that really stick out?
Um, I was an outgoing kid. Um, my nickname was Firecracker. I had a little attitude. But
Oh,
yeah, but now not so much. And I did really love like Guns N' Roses. That was my first memory of music was Welcome to the Jungle. I liked Michael Jackson. Um, I remember my dad playing Tupac. And yeah, I was really into music videos as a kid. Like I don't remember cartoons very well. I just remember like the music more. And growing up, I started listening to Marvin Gaye in middle school, Donny Hathaway in middle school, um, and then high school. It's just from these artists you find more information on other artists.
Oh, of course, yeah. That's
Um,
what a true like music nerd does, you know.
yeah. Yeah, and of course, listening to like hip hop music and samples, that opens up a whole thing. Um, I've always loved music. I've always loved listening to music, everything about it.
Where were you going to get this education about the things that you were learning from all these records when you started going down that rabbit hole?
Um, well, definitely my parents were the foundation, um, showing me their music. Also, my older brother, because basically everything on my Spotify is stuff he's shown me. And I'm really grateful for that. Um, because if I didn't have that, I'm not sure what type of artist I would be because it's really just like what I listen to, it's a mix of so much. Um, but it's my brother, and now I kind of do some work on my own and research and try to find other people.
When did you sort of like first have an inkling that you had like the chops to be a singer, songwriter? Like when was that starting to like really hit home to you?
I would have to say in third grade. That's when I was like, oh, I feel confident. I feel sure. Um, and I just kept going with it. I didn't second guess myself.
Were you a little show off as a kid?
Not really. Not really. It might sound like it, but I was confident. I was confident. I wouldn't sing like just 'cause, but if someone asked me to sing, when I was a kid, I'd be like, okay, what song? You know? Um, and I think like confidence is what really pushed me.
Yeah, how did that confidence work to the point where you're 18 years old now and you put out an album with a highly acclaimed musician? At what points did you ever have to fight second guessing yourself, and how did you get over that so quickly?
Yeah, I think now that I'm I'm growing, I realize more, you know. When I was a kid, I didn't care. Now that I'm an adult, it's like,
Don't you love it when you're a kid and like there's that part of just being an oblivious kid,
yeah,
blissful ignorance, and
uh-huh,
like I look back at things when I was a kid and I'm like, man, I wish I was like that right now. There was other things that bothered me, but that little thing
yeah,
right there, I wish I was just like
yeah.
that.
Same here. Even my parents say like, when you were little, like you had so much confidence, and I mean, I still have that confidence, but I really do think about the things that I'm doing.
Yeah, you
I
get
don't just do them
self-aware of stuff when
anymore.
you're becoming an adult.
Yeah,
When you're starting, yeah, when
yeah,
you start hitting your age, you start being self-aware of things, and you're like, oh dang, man,
yeah,
this kind of sucks, but
yeah. So with Adrian, I did second guess myself a lot in the beginning. Um, but once we started working, it was just natural and I felt really safe.
being having that safe space with him in the studio, like what what did you learn from that? What really sticks out in your mind now that like whatever you're gonna do next, it's not gonna be as scary.
Well, the thing about Adrian is he does what he wants to do musically. No one tells him what to do, and I admire that. And he makes a living like that, doing the things that he loves. Also, his work ethic is insane. So, I mean, I definitely want to take that with me for the next project and also just continue doing what I want to do musically, what I feel, what I feel like doing. Yeah.
How did you sort of present your ideas to him, and what was sort of like the work ethic at that time, like molding your ideas?
Um, Sometimes I would have a song, sometimes he would have the music and I'd write lyrics, sometimes we'd work on it together. And it really just made itself. We didn't have a like a story that we were trying to follow. I was super unsure because like this is my first record, and like I didn't know really what this was going to become. So I think what this record is just a really good introduction to who I am as an artist, and also a lot of these songs that are on the album I wrote 2 3 years ago. So there's a from being like 15, 14, 15, 14, 15
Yeah.
to being 18, it's like a difference, and there's so much growth.
Yeah, that's
So
that's how a lot of like debut albums, especially when it comes and the like in the realms of like soul music or hip hop, that like they say, yo, that first album, took my whole life to write, and stuff like that. Rappers say that all the time. So yeah, like it makes sense that these are songs from a more a longer period of time than
yeah.
say you might do in the future.
Yeah, which is cool, and I don't mind it at all because it does capture something that you don't get back, which is like the youthful side of you lyrically. Um, Even like the sound of my voice is way different now, but it's still something you can't get again. That just happens when you're 14, 15, like that sound.
When you're bringing these songs into the studio, and how did you guys just kind of go about making it work? If there's ever needed to be a little bit of a change, or he told you may sing in a different way, how does
Uh-huh.
sort of that process go?
Well, there was honesty, and I think it's nothing is personal. I think we both knew that what we were doing, what our goal was to make the best body of work that we could make with each other. So um, nothing bugged me, nothing bugged him because we just wanted to make something that we both enjoyed.
How are you able to sort of have that honesty and not like get your feelings hurt in any way? Like, where did you build that up from?
Yeah, well, I just I really do care about the music and I care about his opinion a lot. And I just trusted what he was saying. I trusted the suggestions, and it's something that you just can't take personal. Yeah. Even though it's like your music is your baby.
Yeah.
Like that's like my baby. They're all my babies, but they all need um some constructive criticism to grow.
They need a little water, they need a little
Yeah.
need a little fertilizer,
Exactly.
need a little water,
Yeah.
to get them to grow a little
Right.
bit. How did Adrian take these songs that some of them you were like 14 when you wrote
Uh-huh.
them, and kept the sort of the idea of them, the vibe of them, the original intent of them.
Yeah. Well, the songs, um, I mean, we recorded, like, for example, I Don't Care and Can I Get Your Name? Those were the first couple songs that we recorded. So that was probably in what, 2017, 2018. So I was still kind of on the younger side.
Still a
I
little
still am
connected to them,
young,
yeah.
but that's just like
Yeah.
when I look back, it's like I was little. Um, but he didn't have a problem with it. Nothing.
Like when you think back to writing those songs, and now they're like upwards of 4 years old, yeah, and you were like 14 when you were writing them. Like, do you feel any difference in like you as a woman, become starting to become an adult,
Uh-huh.
to those songs?
Yeah. Well, I think as I'm growing, the songs hit me differently. They mean they mean something different to me. And I'm just interested in like 10 years from now what I'll think of it. Um, but I'm proud and I look at like sometimes I get embarrassed like I'm like, oh, I was so little, you know. I wrote this song, it's cute. But whenever I start like doubting myself, I think like, oh, if what if my little sister wrote this? You know, I would be proud of her, so I should be proud of myself.
Or be like, kind of impressed that you were like 14 and wrote that. That you
Yeah.
were like, man, I did that.
It's cute.
Like sometimes I'll go back to like articles that I wrote years ago and I'll be like,
Uh-huh.
damn, I wrote that?
Yeah, it's impressive.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind, I would actually like to go track by track and like just kind of
Uh-huh.
talk about each track um,
Yeah.
on the album. Let's start off with the first track on it. Don't show it.
Mhm.
What's that about? Any significant stories about it?
I think actually not I think Don't Show is about when you have disagreements within a family. That's what I wrote that song about. It's about growing up and your views changing because you now understand that like you can have an opinion, um, and it's really just like disagreement, but at the end of the day, like you have to end it with love.
And on that topic itself, how being that you've been writing music since when you're a kid, young teenager, like, and you're going through this sort of transitional period in your life, like, how does it feel to like as you grow up more that you're making those more decisions on your life in regards
Uh-huh.
to just your life or music or whatnot? How where's that at in your life right now?
Um, like when it comes down to decisions, you
Yeah,
mean?
just making feeling comfortable making decisions about your music, about
Uh-huh.
making music, just anything. How you feeling these days about that?
Yeah. Well, whenever I'm making music now, if it feels right, I don't question it because that's something that's like it's kind of for me as well. Like it just feels good. If I'm unsure about something, I will ask for like an opinion, or even if there's something that I'm making that I really like, I'll still ask for an opinion on it.
Right. The next joint on there is I don't care.
Yeah. Um, well, I wrote I don't care when I was like what, 14 or 15. And that was about some high school, me liking a boy. Um, but I was like, I don't know if it's gonna work out, so I don't care. But now it hits me differently. Now it's like I seriously do not care about what maybe the mainstream might want or like things like social media might want. Like I'm just gonna do me. So it's like a different thing for me now.
Yeah, and that's a very poignant like attitude to have because there's so many opinions um, and information going around, and especially that's good for young women out there in regard
Yeah.
who like you're 18, so you like social media is always the internet has always been around, so
Yeah.
some people like have live who live a part of social media, so that's kind of like a good thing to have.
Yeah, it is. And with social media, what I think is like anyone can really do whatever they want as long as it's like not hateful,
Yeah.
they're not hurting anyone. Everyone has a different story, everyone does different things. I know for me, like when I look at my social media, I look at it as something to just really connect with people. And that's just how I try to use it. But like it's really whatever anyone wants to make it. It's like your own website.
You, has there been any times where people, maybe especially young girls, have hit you up and said something positive about your music, that they were able to get something out of it.
Yeah. Um, that makes me really happy. Like I've gotten a message about a father who was playing my music and it made his little baby girl want to play guitar and sing,
Aw.
and that warms my heart.
How's it feel? You're making these honest records about from your perspective, and
Mhm.
how does it feel like to have a sort of a role model role with your music? What do you hope people get out of listening to your music? Especially maybe even just like young girls.
Uh-huh. Well, I would hope that they would make decisions in life that make them happy. Like that's it. And I just hope that it gives them comfort and um, makes them happy, makes them feel confident.
The next song is called "I'm in Love."
Hmm. So I wrote I'm in love. This is crazy because I had no idea that I was going to go on tour with the Midnight Hour when I wrote I'm in Love. And I wrote I'm in Love because I wanted it to be a song that I could sing when I'm like away from my family or like away from my loved one when I'm on the road. So that's why I wrote that song.
And it
So
just
that
happened.
way,
It was just about to happen.
yeah, and had no idea that I was gonna go on tour. Um, so that's actually kind of crazy.
Oh, that's. How do you sort of, at a young age, how do you sort of deal with going on the road? Like, how did you feel just sort of personally, and then how is everybody else around you sort of like, with making it a homely environment, making sure that you're okay.
Yeah, it was awesome. I learned so much about myself. I didn't really have any. I like there were no issues at all. I wanted to take care of myself. My parents are also really supportive, so they were with me, not on the road, but through the phone. They were there for me,
Yeah.
and it just made me want to become really independent. You know, I wanted to set up my own things, help everyone else set up, take down. Um, and I think I learned so much about myself. I didn't know I had it in me to do 47 shows. I didn't know.
Now that you did it, you're like, no sweat.
Yeah.
Let's do more.
Yeah.
The next song is called "Top Down."
Hmm. Top Down is about a boy I used to like in high school, and he he was just mysterious, and all the girls wanted to get to know him, and I mean I was one of them, and then I saw him leaving school in a convertible, and it was just like, whoa, I gotta write a song about this, and that's how I wrote Top Down.
What happened with him?
Oh my gosh, we hung out, and it was cool, but eh,
It's like,
you know,
all right.
it's actually kind of funny because when I was writing the song, I was in Spanish class, um, and I'm writing about him, and I look out, and I'm sitting close to the door. I look out the door and I see him walk by. I'm like, wow, this is meant to be. I gotta finish this song. And I see him walking back with the girl, and I was like, oh,
Oh,
this is going a different direction. Um,
it wrote
but
itself.
yeah, it wrote itself. Really, it was literally my environment, like exactly what I was going through. But oh well, I'm over it.
I got a record out now.
Yeah,
The the next song is "Can I Get Your Name?"
yeah. Can I get your name? It's just kind of like a really cute, fun song, very youthful. And that was actually like a freestyle. The Can I Get Your Name, like, and maybe like your number. And I just loved it because I felt um, it gave me so much confidence to just have conversations with people. And it's really, I wrote it when I was in 10th grade, I think. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Mm.
Next up is a little like interlude kind of joint called Stardust. Talk about that.
Um, I believe Stardust is actually a jazz standard. And that's kind of how like Adrian and I got the name. Uh, and he was just playing chords on the piano, found Stardust, and we were like, all right, let's make it happen. It sounds very magical, so we just stuck with it, and that's like one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. The next song is "Feel the Same."
Feel the same. I think I wrote that when I was in what 11th grade. Yeah, I wrote that when I was in 11th grade, and that is pretty much about friends, having issues with friends, um, and at this time, the people that I was talking to, they didn't really care. I felt like they didn't really care about like our friendship. And so it was me kind of at a point where it's like I'm over it. Like it's never gonna be the same. It doesn't have to. Um, and just moving on.
Being in high school, writing songs, whatnot. Were a lot of your friends supportive of your music?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um,
Like, how was your
yeah.
school? Like, what did the school look at you about? Like, what did the student body, the people that are around you, sort of like? What was their thoughts that you think about you as a music artist?
Yeah, in high school, when I was working with Adrian, I didn't really talk about it with anyone.
Right.
I didn't tell anyone, maybe told a few friends, but I didn't want to jinx anything,
I
you
feel you.
know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I didn't want to get too excited about something and then it doesn't work out for, I don't know, whatever reason. So
Oh,
I
I
didn't
feel,
really
totally
tell many
understand that.
people.
Yeah.
But I do like now, man, I have so many supportive friends. I'm so grateful.
How does that feel like to have your peers, people that you went to school with, sort of being very supportive of what you've done?
It makes me happy uh, because, well, it's honestly not even about me. It's more about just um, how the music really brings people together, how art brings people together, and like I love to support my friends as well. I have a lot of friends that are visual artists, dancers, and it's just like sharing something that is really one of a kind. And I'm happy that I have that like group of friends that are that embrace that and I'm happy that I have um, friends that like to embrace one another.
Right. The next song is "In My Mind."
Hmm. So in my mind, I wanted to write a jazz standard. Like that was a goal of mine. So this was like my attempt, and it's it's just about living your life, and maybe a relationship doesn't work out, and that was a sign that that's not right. That's not meant to happen. So you keep going on with your life, and then you end up meeting this person that's like right for you. But it was like that song was really because I wanted to challenge myself and write a standard that like Sarah Vaughan could sing, you know?
Nice. And the final record on the album is "So Young."
Yeah. So Young is really heavy. It's a really heavy song, and I always have trouble talking about it because it's about um us moving on to what's after life, like staying in the back in line. I mean that represents like visualize everyone in line, right? In the back of the line there's like little kids, in the front of the line there's like older people. And those older people are getting closer to what's next. And it's sad. That's sad. That like the way I see that in my mind. But sometimes you get, little kids that take their own lives, drug addiction, things like that where people cut the line. And it's just so sad. Like when I look at Amy Winehouse, um,
Yeah.
you know, Mac Miller, a lot of artists have, left way too early. And that's what it's about. It's just life and
Yeah,
the
you're
next
you're
thing.
at this point in your life where you're 18 and you're starting to transition into adulthood, womanhood, and is there anything scary about that to you?
Not really. Not really. Of course I'm like, oh my gosh, like how am I gonna pay bills, Like
Bills suck.
yeah, things like that. But I just feel really confident that um I'm gonna I feel confident in my life. I'm someone that I just need good people around me to be happy. Like the material things, it might be nice, but I just really care about who's around me. That's everything.
When it comes to this album, when it comes to your the album Introspection, when it comes to the album art or any of the visuals, the videos, the promo pictures, and anything, what was sort of the vibe that you wanted to have in all that?
Well, that was kind of a difficult question. For the album cover, our graphic designer came up with that. And she sent us like four different covers. And I was like, we all agreed that that was really cool. And I also didn't want like my face. I wanted something that was art, really
Yeah.
like an art piece. Um, so I really liked that it looks like an art piece. Um, and yeah, I guess for the other like pictures and things like that, it's just what's natural.
Now that this album's out,
Hmm.
like, you know, what do you feel about it now that there's all these songs that have been written and recorded from written from past few years of your life. They've been put to all this music, professionally recorded, packaged.
Yeah.
There's this thing that you can hold in your hand. Like what sort of thoughts and feelings do you have with that?
Well, I feel like I have to keep going. I have to, regardless of, if it's something that gets a 1,000 streams or a lot of streams, like I don't care. Like I have to keep going making the music because that lives on and it impacts people forever.
What do you hope your audience gets out of listening to this album, or eventually when you get to perform this stuff again in
Yeah.
public?
I hope that my audience could feel comfortable and bring their daughter, their grandma, like all ages. This is for everyone. That's how I would like for it to be, and I hope that it inspires, makes people feel confident, makes people happy.
So what's next for you? Is there anything that you can talk about? Anything you're working on?
So right now, I'm working on the next project. That will be under a different name. It'll be under a name that's called Safe Place. My brother makes music. He's really, really talented, and that's our band is Safe Place. Um, so the next album will be a Safe Place album. Yeah.
Nice. Nice, nice. Is there before we get out of here, is there any like just last thoughts that you want to give out to the listeners about you and your album?
I just want to say that I hope my album is something that makes you feel good, makes you happy, and it's something that you could share with your loved ones.
It's great. Really dig the album.
Thank
Where
you.
where can people go online to get more information about you and peep the new album?
Yeah, the album is available on all digital platforms. You can find me on Instagram at Big Cat Mother Funk. And that's pretty much it. I know the music videos are on Tidal, I believe, and YouTube.
All right, that's what's up. Yeah, thanks for
Mhm.
taking time out to do this interview. I'm glad you're on the show, and I'm really
Thank
digging the
you.
album. And good luck with everything, and be safe.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was such a like a calming discussion. So I appreciate that.
No
Thank you.
problem. That's exactly what I try to do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Fresh is the Word podcast, hosted and produced by myself, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, empowered by Anchor at anchor.fm/fresh is the word. Fresh is the Word theme music provided by Steve O. You can find more of his productions at iamsteveo.bandcamp.com, and that's EYEAMSTEVEO.bandcamp.com. Fresh is the Word is available on all major streaming platforms. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. If you want to support Fresh is the Word, please consider pledging via Patreon at patreon.com/freshisthe word. Follow Fresh is the Word on social media on Twitter at Fresh is the Pod, on Instagram at Fresh is the Word Podcast, and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Fresh is the Word. For more information about Fresh is the Word and our other podcasts, Breaking Records and Renaissance Soul, and a collection of pop culture articles and reviews, please visit freshesthepodcast.com. Thank you for listening and your support. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.